Welcome to the PAWA Podcast. This is the Heroism Courage series. I'm your host, Joy Mala, and joining us is also a guest and my other co-host, Gloria Machete.
Hello, welcome. In studio, we have our guest, Angela. Angela Mumbua is a queer feminist who dreams of freedom and is dedicated to dismantling all systems of oppression. She's one of the co-founders of Queens of All, a collective of queer artists and writers that seeks to tell stories and start conversations about Black womanhood, sex, queerness, and everything in between. Angela is currently studying political science at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, and she's also a baker.
Yes.
Karibu, Angela.
If you need cakes. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I am so excited. Looking forward to our conversations. Good vibes.
Yes,
Good vibes and content.
always. So maybe to know a little bit about Angela, tell us about your journey in social justice. When did you begin? What interested you? And why is it important to you?
That's actually a really good question. My journey began this year with coronavirus. I began to volunteer with mutual aid, which was a response to COVID-19. So Suhail Omar and Wevin Muganda in Mombasa decided to form a collective of people who are just going to help each other.
Okay.
So I began volunteering, and most of the people you'd work with, the groups you'd work with, were social justice groups, such as the Coalition for Grassroots and Human Rights Defenders. I hope that's right.
Yes.
And Mother Social Justice Center, Ghetto Foundation, Feminists for Peace in Kibera. So that's really how I began community organizing and just got into that space. The next thing that happened was that we were organizing Saba Saba. I would just attend the meetings, and well, that's how we are here actually.
Okay.
That's really it.
And why is it important for you and for youth to be active?
I think why it's important is because our life right now is shit, you know? If you're not rich, if you are not part of the ruling class, you are struggling. We could be middle class. I, for example, am middle class, but I am really one sickness away from poverty, you know? There is no security in where we are right now, in the situation that we are in right now. And that's why it's important. It's important because we need to be free. Women need to walk around in whatever clothes they want to walk around in and not be harassed. Sex workers need to be protected. They need to conduct their business. Lesbians and gay people and trans people need to feel safe in their own country. So that is why it's important for youth to be active and to work for freedom, really.
Our life literally depends on it.
Our life depends on it. And if it's not our life, it's our children's life.
True.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Because there's a friend of mine, I remember we'd come from doing a distribution in Kawangware. And so we were just talking about this, like our activities, because we'd gone to do like a talk with some young girls about menstrual health. In Kawangware, and really in many slums and just places where people are not wealthy or middle class, they can't afford pads. Or if they can, they don't have places to dispose of them. So can you just, it's a very basic necessity. We are all going to bleed. Imagine we're going to bleed for until we're 50.
And we don't choose to.
We don't choose to, but now we must struggle. It's very unfair, you know? So these are the things that we must fight for, that we have to live decent, dignified lives. Yeah. And if we cannot do it for us, if we will not see the benefits now, our children at least, or our children's children.
Yeah.
Because kina Wangaje, kina Piogama Pinto, everyone who came before us, yes, they wanted it for them, but also it was to lay ground for us. Yeah.
So in your activism journey and in social justice, what have been the highlights and also what have been the really low moments?
Okay, so first I just want to clarify that I do not claim to be an activist. I don't, but still, the highs and the lows. I can say some of the lowest moments have been when I felt despair and just a complete lack of hope. Because you will get on the internet or you'll turn on the news and it's all horrible, horrible things.
All the time.
Everywhere, all the time. And then you think about the things that don't make it to the news. And I remember during Sabasaba, when I saw how violent the state was, how violent the police were, that they could not even let us chant for 5 minutes. We had songs to sing, but they said hamwezi. Imagine hamtaimba. That was a very, very it was a very low point for me. But at the same time, what encourages me and what encouraged me then is that I was not alone, that we were not alone.
Yeah.
That there are people to hold us and to organize with us and who share that dream. So even if you get tired or if you feel like this is pointless, there's still someone there holding your hand saying, you know what, I understand how you feel and it's okay to feel like that, but we can move. I will carry you until you can walk again. Yeah, and just really community is we all need community. We all need spaces, places, people who we feel share our values, share our dreams, and encourage us to keep going and allow us to be who we are, to feel the things that we feel. Yeah.
True. I like that you mentioned the Sabasaba match because at PAWA 254 it has been we've been a part of it because we work so much with the social justice working group.
Yeah, Bonnie was there.
Even currently there's a project dubbed Sauti Jasiri that is involving working groups in Dandora, Mukuru, and Kayole. And interesting thing about these working groups, they're all run and managed by youth.
And women. Yes.
Yeah, like very, very young people. And what was your experience just being around other young people? And what did this speak to you as a way forward for Kenyans?
I can say one thing is I noticed, one thing really stood out to me is that grassroots organizing is very, very vital. It is the only way. It is when we have localized solutions. Actually, the best solutions are localized solutions.
Yeah.
And this year is also when I started interacting with like abolitionist material, prison abolition, and just looking at socialism and other ways that we can model our society. It must be from the ground up, because if not all, most of the organizations we worked with were led by women. CGHRD, Rachel and her team, Feminist for Peace editor and her team, MSJC, Kina Wanjira, Julie, Kayole Social Justice, they're all organized and run by women. And it really just goes to show, I think there was a paper by Oxfam that showed that when women were involved in decision making, the solutions were more far-reaching and generally more beneficial. And I'm not saying this to be gender essentialist, but some of these things we must have spaces where we include women, we include queer people, we include sex workers, all of these, and young people, of course, because our president claims that he's youth. But look at where that got us.
We got right to because they wore jeans.
They wear jeans and flowery t-shirts. Oh my god. But yeah, that I feel the most important thing for me was how grassroots organizing is most effective. Because unajua jirani yako akona shida gani? Unajua ule mse uko chini akona shida gani? And then
hata wewe kama unaishi kwa hiyo community, you know what you're going through.
Exactly.
And you have the solutions.
Exactly.
You need to be given a chance to put them forward and effect them.
Sio ati mtu fulani hata haishi kwenu amekuja kwenu kuwa elected and then he goes back to sijui kilelesho or whatever.
Does not make sense.
It does not
bring
make sense.
Projects you really don't care about.
They are not impactful to your life. Hazikusaidi, you know.
At all.
If someone cared about young women, wangeleta bins for pads, wangeka proper public toilets, wange provide clean water, you know. But they have no interest in caring for the communities where they have been elected. Yeah, so I've digressed kidogo.
I liked how you put elected in quotes.
These elections are even a sham. Achana tunazo. It's a joke.
So it's very clear that the young people are among the marginalized groups. We never get our voices heard, or like there's a misrepresentation. They pose as young people, so that we kind of feel included, but at the very hearts of our hearts, you know, that umse ako age ya baba yangu anaclaim kukua.
And also because there's this assumption that, you know, you're young, you don't know much, that you can't bring anything to the table. So, you know, just let the people with the experience.
You need ageism. I'm not sure.
Yeah, something that we need to deconstruct.
Easy my respectability. Fuck that. Tutakuja in our jeans and sijui ripped shirts na make decisions for our lives, you know?
Yeah. What I always say is that they messed up somehow. They already educated us. So we have minds, and our minds have been opened to an extent that we can actually think and come up with solutions for our times. Which now leads me to the next question. I think I need to remind our guests that Angela here is a student at Queer, studying political science. So in school...
Shout out to my lecturers.
So do you feel like your education is impactful to your journey and to the Kenya that you envision? I guess.
Let me see. That there are very, very, very many big gaps in our curriculum, in the coursework, and it breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. This is an unpopular opinion, but I really feel like our coursework as it stands and just the undergraduate program is just a waste of time. My parents would be so disappointed. But I will finish. It's fine. I feel like it's jokes here and there. But still, interacting with that material and then feeling like I don't agree with this, you know, questioning has pushed me to read more and to look for other material, right? So in a way, it might have been by accident. You know, probably the intention was ukuje usome hii utosheke na hii. But really what ended up happening is that I went another direction. So yeah, I feel like we have so many arguments with our lecturers. Gloria knows. We have very many arguments with our lecturers. We have lecturers who believe that capitalism is the way, the truth and the light. And so now we end up, you know, having to debates in class. We have lecturers who think that FGM is okay, which is a
Not
huge,
just
huge
okay,
problem.
necessary.
Is necessary. That is
Why would anyone think FGM is necessary?
because he's a misogynist. That is the only reason.
Like, how does he support?
His argument was that, FGM is justifiable because it tames the sexual desires of women. And, women can't just be let to go loose. That is not acceptable.
Yeah, how dare you want sex?
How dare you?
How dare you want sex as a woman? Yeah, so
This is very disturbing.
it's very disturbing. Can you imagine being in that class? Yeah. No, just so much anger. Anyway, that's what school has been like. But at the same time, you meet people and you have projects like Heroism Courage that just one day showed up, and it was fun and it was interesting. It was refreshing to see a different side of history being told. Yeah, so school is like that. School, I feel like I'm mostly learning from the internet. The mistake they did is to give us the internet. Hey,
the mistake and blessing.
Yeah, no, it's a mistake because now we're going to
can
discover for
challenge
their
them.
next. Yeah.
And it takes me back to what Willie Mutunga likes to say, that self-education is what will take you even further than what they tell you. Because as long as someone else is putting the narrative forth, they're going to feed you what serves them. So it's up to you to really step up and, as Angela is saying, look into other material.
Yeah.
And it's also ironical because the first day of, what is it called? Induction. Orientation. We are told the university is an open space where you can challenge ideas. But the moment you write a paper that is contrary to what you've been taught in class, because I remember our unit called Sociology of Development, the question was, set the impact of the Big Four agenda and how it has driven Kenya towards being more developed. And I'm like, has it? What do you guys think about the Big Four agenda?
In
my paper, essentially, I just said, this thing, it's a myth. It's just like Nyayoism. It's just, it's literally, it's a story on paper, but on the ground, maybe we've had flagship projects here and there, but also how much money has disappeared. What is the impact we're looking at? And I didn't do well. I failed that paper, and so I'm like, sir, please tell me more about the Big Four. And, you'll find someone like Miss, there's a teacher who will always refer you to, have you read this and that paper? Why are you saying that? Have you inspected? Well, it's clear to see that. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Big Four agenda?
No, I feel like I don't even want to go into the Big Four agenda because there is so much.
It's a huge segue.
It's a whole mess. Kuiba tu na kudanganyana.
Right?
Every public holiday. God damn.
With what was that program called? GOK Can, there was a whole campaign, and there were videos and a nice choir,
But that's the thing about our media. It's owned, and I keep saying this. It's called media programming. It's essentially there to program us, to program our thinking, to make us think the way they want us to think. So a huge campaign of like unlearning and re-educating ourselves is of importance right now, because there's nowhere else we'll find the truth if you do not actually just step out to look for it, because they expect your truth to be what you read in that paper or what was taught to you in school, while you can actually see the truth. So much as your lecturer might decide that your refusal of whatever was taught to you is just pedestrian knowledge, it actually isn't, because it's also facts. These fact sheets, who developed them, and why, for what reason? Because we've seen it a lot, even after Moi died. Especially after Moi died. I think it came out clear that the media is not for us whatsoever.
You even become confused.
The mainstream media.
Is this a different individual we are talking about?
You wonder.
Who is this?
This is new information.
Right?
I never knew about this one. But school, I think school hasn't been all bad.
No,
It's not been all bad,
especially
honestly.
for networking.
Yeah, and there was, I think that a few units that really opened my eyes.
To
you know,
industrialization.
that was a really good
That
one.
was-
It
yeah.
was a really, really good one.
Yeah.
And there was also one about development, and I learned about how we measure development and how we do right now and the way we actually should.
Yeah.
We should focus on the quality of people's lives
Yeah.
rather than whether they're roads and buildings.
Yeah.
Because if they're roads and buildings, but
But people are living worse.
yeah, they don't have water, sijui nini,
Yeah.
then that development is for who? You know. Yeah.
So
Yes.
based on that, do you think, would we say that we are developing? Because like in Kenya, there's so many, like right now we are looking at several skyscrapers that have been empty ever since they were built. Well, people like to say that this is how big people launder money. I wouldn't
All the
call it
malls in
facts
Karen.
because I can't point it to anybody. But then again, we have these beautiful skylines without tenants because people obviously can't afford to live there, and there's not enough employment. So there are no new businesses that are propping up. So would we say Kenya is developing by any standards based on your course?
No, our country is not developed at all. It is not developed. I mean, actually, on one hand, from a capitalist perspective, we're prospering. We are really prospering. We have a railway.
Yes,
We have, goods are moving, but the people are still struggling. So no, we are not developed. It's all these things that have been built, all these
It's an illusion.
it's not for us. It's not for us. And if the changes happening in a country are being enacted but they're not benefiting the people who live in that country, what is
You
the
can't
point?
really claim it.
Yeah. And that's why I get a little bit taken aback when my friends, our school has like people from Rwanda.
Your
people
school
from-
is
Catholic
Catholic University.
Hey, schoolmates.
schoolmates, classmates.
So I have friends who are from Rwanda who tell me, but Kenyans are so lucky. You guys don't see your opportunities. And that, it kind of makes me question myself. And I'm like, okay, so am I hallucinating?
Where can you see? What's your problem? Is it me?
Is it me?
No, but we're discussing this the other day. There's a meeting usually attended by the Revolutionary Socialist League. And so we're talking about capitalism and socialism and how the rest of Africa, or rather how Kenya is viewed as this developed country, because, or developing,
Fast develop.
Hey, like a gem in Africa, But this is because we are a hub for foreign direct investment.
Yeah.
So the West is very
Seed
excited.
fund.
Oh, yeah.
They're very excited to push this narrative as well, you know, because they can keep bringing in their money that is really not helping the citizens. And so that's why people in Tanzania will think, oh, najifanya
Hey,
sijui.
just like to make noise.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, imagine we have the same struggles. These guys are not helping my life.
That's the thing about Kenya, being a settler colony. Kenya, South Africa, Angola, and some other one, yeah. So being a settler colony, there was this illusion of our position being different from the rest of African countries because the Europeans not only decided to come and colonize us, they also decided they will come and live here. Of course, by them living here, they had the lush, beautiful highlands to occupy and all the beautiful regions that they've now put under conservation, whatever that means. Well, because this is an entirely different topic. Yeah. So it's easy for us to live under that illusion that we are better because we have all these schools that were, of course, inherited after colonialism. Akina LCVR, there used to be Loreto Convent,
Nairobi School
Aga
as
Khan.
well.
Yeah, they used to be absolutely white, like exclusively, up until when colonialism was being eradicated, and so they decided, okay, so we'll bring in a few other blacks. So we have an illusion of prosperity from the background that we build from, we build upon. But then again, the transition was not for us either. The transition made after colonialism was made such that the richer people now take over whatever the whites had and whatever the British colonialists had, and so the poorer people keep living under the same systems, like because Eastlands was allocated to black people, and you can even see how we regard people who live in Eastlands. So unatoka Islando, like respect is accorded according to your pockets. So how do you think
dignity?
Respect, dignity, zinaitwaje, public offices, zote utaangaliwa, like who are you, what do you have, where do you come from, what's your family, before we decide our Gloria has something important that she can do for the nation. So how do you think us as young people, we still don't have much property or any?
I don't have property.
We don't have anything.
I have my clothes and my shoes.
So how do we overturn these tables? How do we make a room for ourselves?
I think this question came up during one of the talks Willie was giving. And he said, nobody will ever make room for you. We have to assert ourselves in these places. They look at us funny and we say, no, we are here. And it reminds me of what Rosa Parks did when she sat in the white section in the bus. They'll never tell you, oh, black man, come sit here. So it's the same thing with youth. Nobody will ever they'll say it on paper. There's so much youth programs going on. And this tender is for youth. But it's at the end of the day, I think we have to assert ourselves in those positions and say, I'm young, but I have a voice, and you will hear me out.
We have to occupy space, and especially women, queer people, any marginalized identities. Really, we don't have these spaces are not made for us. They are not made for us, but we have to create them for ourselves first of all, because I really have no interest in sitting at one table with Uhuru and trying to convince him or just whoever, or convince him of why I need to live freely. I have no interest in going to that table because I'm not welcome. I will establish my own. Why are you guys
broke? He doesn't.
Why are you broke?
Why are you broke?
Why are you
How much
struggling?
is bread? And he's like, it's 2 sock.
Why are you struggling?
So if you complain that it's 50 bob,
What do you mean?
what do you mean? It's not 200.
The struggle. I have no interest in sitting there with them, but we must create these spaces for ourselves, and we must speak and assert ourselves, as you've said.
Yes.
And just remain unshaken.
Because I like something you've mentioned, that they talk of opportunities for youth. But when you come to deconstruct what are these opportunities, it's a kazi for vijana so that you sweep roads. It's kazi for vijana so that you sweep roads, right? So much as we agree that kuna a number of youth that benefit from that opportunity, we all know that that's not the best that they could give us, because at the same time we have 90-year-olds sitting in offices that should have been occupied by youth.
True.
Right? So what does that even say? What does that even speak of this nation that is so youthful, so digitized, etc. So I like when like we all agree that it's upon us to actually take charge. Hence the PAWA Podcast. The PAWA Podcast. I think, let me just plug this in here. The reason we are doing this is so that young people have a platform that is owned by them. We don't have spaces in media houses, or rather, whenever we are called, it's just to continue the same narratives that are always there, because these organizations are owned, and they're owned by the same people in government who've been oppressing us for ages. So we want this platform to be a home for young people, to be somewhere that we can actually come and vocalize our needs, where we want to go, and try and forge a way there. So whether it will be that we'll have policy papers, whether we'll effect
Ban the
change by
country
organizing, yeah.
Maybe perhaps
If Angela should ban
abolish
the country down,
state.
yeah, because we are also
means.
Kenyans. I'm 28 at the moment, right? And we keep being told that tutakuwa leaders kesho. So you keep being young until you're not young anymore to be a leader of tomorrow. So we are starting a revolution through this podcast, guys. So
Actually,
Viva.
when nimesema Kenya ni yetu, there's a point when during Sabasaba that someone led that chant, Kenya ni yetu pia, and I felt that,
Yeah.
tears in my eyes.
man, you
Because,
shiver.
yeah, I actually had shivers because we are treated like we are not citizens of this country. Can you
And
imagine?
even the way they were treating the protesters, yet Sabasaba march has been happening for years and years. Like this is not the first time that the social working groups have organized the Sabasaba march.
Yeah.
And then it is to commemorate a certain point in our history. So it wasn't just reckless rioting and stuff.
And the thing also is that we were exercising our right. We have a right to protest. We have a right to say that we are dissatisfied. And the government said, your rights don't matter. We don't want to hear what you have to say. It does not matter.
And that's what they keep communicating.
And it feels like we never gained independence. It feels like it's
The
just a
colonizers
new
never
colonial
left.
master.
They never left.
Yeah, because that's how they were treating us then on our land, like second class, and it progresses.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's the state, the systems that are in place now are working just as they were supposed to work. And this is
Yeah.
why there can be no reform. There can be no reform because you can't fix something that's rotten at the root.
This was the design.
This was the design. It's working perfectly. The police are killing you. That was their job.
That was their job.
They're treating you like you are hooligans. That's exactly what they were supposed to do.
They've monopolized power. KPLC. We can't work without it, and it's a monopoly. We've been monopolized by the government. The majority shareholder is the president's mother, and we are supposed to be okay with that and keep moving. Yet kazi kwa vijana tuko sawa nini we are developing stories. So when you speak about our rights being curtailed during the Sabasaba march, it also, I think, it points to a focus that the constitution is always being undermined, because if it's ingrained in the constitution that this is your right, you can protest, you can picket, but still that does not hold water. So how do we operate? How are we operating as a country?
Yeah, it's constantly being undermined from the very, very beginning. I remember there was, I don't know if they still are there, but I remember there was a movement called We Are 52PC.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and they'd been saying how parliament is unconstitutional, and the judiciary constantly threw out their petitions. And from that moment, if you cannot uphold one but vital, of course, part of the constitution, all these other violations, it sets a precedent.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing now. For me, I think the regime never changed. It's just the face. It's just the face. Bado tu wanafanya the same things they did. And I'm just going to talk about just mention, there's an article written by Brian Muraya called The Afterlife of the Colony. And it's very, very, very illuminating. And I hope anyone who's listening,
I think you'll forward the link. So link in
it's
bio.
Yeah, we
link
include the
below.
link.
Yeah, it's a very important article and really points out how these things are working just as they should have. And so the colonizers never left. The work is to really uproot all of it.
I need
whole
what
thing,
you
the
said
whole thing.
on a t-shirt. The regime never changed. Just
It's
the
just the
face.
face. What you
That's
wale.
it. Drop your mic. That's it.
That's it. By the hata twende home sasa.
So I think most people wanakumbuka, we used to do this thing in universities, the Heroism and Courage, na tulikuwa na exhibition, and then the former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga will give a talk, and walikuja to our school, Catholic University.
Amongst many others.
Oh yeah, and many others. Na ingeendelea except Corona came into the picture, and now new normal.
Yeah.
So, tuambie a bit about your experience with the exhibition. What were your favorite parts? Did you learn things you didn't know before? Tell us a bit about it.
Actually, I remember that day I walked into school and there was this huge. They were just very, very big
installations for the
and
photo
what's this
exhibition.
cool thing happening?
It was I was so drawn to it, obviously, because it was right there in front of us, and I think it was a very emotional experience because there were also there was stuff about the concentration camps and reference to Britain's Gulag, right? So that was very, very, actually, I've just remembered, it was very, very painful for me.
I know. So, some of those stories, when you read them in detail, like the one for the scorpions, you remember that?
Whoa.
Broken bottles, boiled eggs being
that, it was, and then also one of the things that really, I felt a lot of pain, a lot of anger, because this is history that is hidden from us.
Yeah.
Like
is
even when you're
completely
taught
erased.
about colonialism, it's presented in such a palatable manner. You're like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
You know, when I think about how tuliandika advantages of colonization, how do we teach such nonsense? How is it okay to violently impose regimes on other people and to kill them?
And talk about advantages.
And then talk about how, it wasn't all that bad. But we killed 1 million people in how many, in a very short time. Anyway, so...
Your experience with the exhibition.
My experience at the exhibition was anger, pain, but I also really, really liked that they told the truth about Kenyatta and how he was a sellout. I was like, yes. Although this was the first time I was introduced to that side of Kenyatta. I did not know that he wasn't that freedom fighter that we knew.
Really?
You know, I didn't know that Kenyatta was a sellout like that.
It's true.
Yeah.
That we don't learn that. We don't learn it.
They don't tell us these things.
Yes, that was really it was amazing, and I felt really bad that I couldn't attend the talk. But I hope that you can continue with these exhibitions and just sharing these stories. Either digitally, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll also have Willy Mutunga coming to talk to. So maybe you'll catch that.
I'll catch that.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we notice that several aspects of our history have been removed from the public eye because for it to be available in the British Gulag, and then I'm also pretty sure that it's not an easy book to find, and even if you are to find it, would be expensive. Like
it's
all the
easily
other
accessible.
Like all the other African books and like books of our past, our historical background, art and culture, they're always either so damn expensive or just hard, very, very hard to come by. But it also points us to the reason why they do these things, because growing up without a history really uproots you from any standing.
Yeah.
If you can't tell where you're from, like as you stand there, you cannot say where you came from. You don't know if you have a name, whether you have a tribe, whether there's anything you like, whether you have parents,
your
family.
Spirituality.
Yes. And then someone just told you, okay, Angela, stand up and go. Having that erased from your memory really makes sure that you have no direction henceforth. And so it's easy to push you around, which is what is happening to a lot of us, because, well,
really all of us.
Yeah, all
as
of
long
us.
as the colony is outside, it is in our politics, but it's also in our minds.
It is.
Yeah.
And because we are not we are not removed from it, because that was the intention, to make sure that we keep being this. We are in bubbles. We are just floating, but we're not rooted to anything. We hate our Kenyan languages, our indigenous languages. We hate
our spirituality.
Our dressing. We hate our spirituality. We do not want to revisit sexual education as it was being performed just a few decades back. Like, we are so far removed from anything we used to be, which I think paints just a picture for destruction going forward, because we are not rooted to anything. And would you, I don't know what you think, what are the maybe far-reaching consequences of such a scenario?
I mean, of course, as you mentioned, it becomes easy to be headed towards any whichsoever direction, and there's also a general sense of confusion, and I think that's what they refer to when they say identity crisis. You really don't know who you are, so you'll go anywhere, and that becomes detrimental, because everything that's being done by another culture may not be the perfect fit for you. So you wonder, so why can't I relate to these things? And it's all because it wasn't for you. You just really copy pasted, and that can't work. It has to be homegrown and indigenous.
It has to work for you.
Yeah, it has to work for you. And there were so many lessons, like you mentioned, around sex, but also other things that were very vital for, your existence in this world, which
we omitted.
Yeah, we omitted, and nowadays we just like to act like anything. But I feel like more and more we are becoming more conscious to our cultures.
That's the thing I like about our generation. People are not just willing to take everything as is given to them. We actually question
questions,
and we challenge authority.
And culture is cool again.
Yeah.
So we are making it cool again.
It's cool again.
I think also part of the thing about erasure is also how we resisted. The history of our resistance, our traditions of resistance have also been hidden from us. And I feel like it's very important for us to revisit and to learn not just about the individuals, because there's a lot of emphasis on one person, but it's never just that one person. There's a lot of work that happens collectively. And as well as ancestry. And I really have a soft spot, rather let's say so, because I feel very, very removed from my ancestry and just the ancestral spirits and that connection to who we were, who's come before us. And I constantly yearn for it, because spirituality was such a vital part of the way people resisted also. It was a vital part of our lives. It was a vital part of resistance. A lot of organizing was done on the basis of spirituality.
Were you the one who was telling me the story about how Maji Rebellion was ridiculed?
Yeah, it was. We were making fun of it, but Maji Rebellion was so huge. What was his name? I've forgotten his name. Not Mekatilili. Anyway. Yeah, him. The way that Kinjeketile Ngwale, he mobilized Tanzanians everywhere. And this was the first ever resistance or rebellion that encompassed all of those different tribes. Before it was just Uko. And of course it'd be crushed. But the Maji Rebellion
brought them together.
It brought them together. And how did he bring them together? It was through that belief in their ancestors in the spirit world, and also Mekatilili, and I have forgotten their names, but they did the thing. The Nandi guy.
Yeah.
You guys are going to have to edit
Koitalo
that part.
I think why, like what you mentioned, that the narratives that we were given were laughable because, as she pointed out earlier, it's because that was the story of colonialism that was to be taught in
primitive,
school.
yeah.
Because I was also flabbergasted to learn of like other deeper sides. I don't know whether to call them deeper because they were just obvious that is what happened. Only that they were removed from
or presented in a different light.
Yeah, from our history completely. And so we talk of Kenyans as a nation that people forget and move on. We forgive, we forget, we move on. But then I like to think that before you are forgiving, you really need to know what you're forgiving. You really need to confront what you are moving forward from. Because otherwise, how do we prevent ourselves from moving back in circles? Because as we say that the regime is still the same, only that the faces have changed. It's actually true. It's true in so many aspects. And you find that by them disempowering us, anytime anyone goes to the telly and says, hey, we need a referendum, the BBI. So it's so easy to hurt Kenyans left, right, and center because they actually don't know. They don't know why. Like we never tag our history along. We never want to see sawa, this constitution is not working because of ABC. It's always like, sawa, let's remove the entire of it. Yet it's only 9 years old.
You can't even do that, first of all. It's like, guys, you can't just wake up and say, fuck it. Acha to restart.
Acheni tuitoe. Ati kuna shimo hapa.
Are you mad?
Building.
Imagine.
Yeah.
As if there are no laws and structures, surely. Yes.
Okay, so as we round up, Angela, tell us what is a hero to you and who are your heroes? Internationally, nationally, in all spheres.
Right now where I am thinking a lot about community and collectives. What the things that people achieve when they do them together. So when I think about heroes, I think about, for example, the queer community in Kenya. They have online and offline, really. Online and offline, they have been so supportive. It's beautiful. I wouldn't say of me, not directly to me, but to see how we have refused to
be erased.
Yeah, we've refused to be erased.
Or be ignored.
To be ignored. We've refused to suffer. Even though that is exactly what our world wants us to do. Our world wants us to suffer and to despair. But the queer community, not just here, but everywhere, really, has continued to fight. So that's definitely one of those, that is one of my heroes. They are one of my heroes.
Repeal 162.
Yeah, and then that
movement
broke our hearts, but it's okay, it's okay.
It's still going to happen, though.
It's still going to happen. But really, other than that, is the feminist movement has also really changed my life and changed the way that I see the world, the way I see myself in the world.
Yeah.
Both, again, mostly online, to be honest, people like Mona El-Tahawi and Stella Nyanzi.
Hey.
Stella Nyanzi. Woo.
She's inspired our generation.
She has.
Hugely.
She is amazing. And Rachel Mwikali is an organizer and an activist from the Coalition of Grassroots Human Rights Defenders. Just people like that. Just people out in the streets fighting, dreaming, living, imagining. Those are my heroes.
Normal people driving change.
Normal people driving change. They are my heroes, yeah.
I like that.
Drop your mic. Just drop your mic.
This
Throw it
thing
away.
shut a long time ago.
Out of the
You
window.
shut it
We were
down.
done.
You shut it down. So thank you so much, Angela, for joining us.
Can I ask you guys, am I allowed to ask who your heroes are?
Yes, you are.
We'll cut it out.
Gloria, who's your hero? Gloria, who is your hero?
Yeah, I think for me, my heroes are people who aren't afraid to speak up, people who show such courage, because that's a thing I struggle with. People who are fearful, yes, because fear is a real thing, but still do it anyway.
They walk right into it.
Yeah, they walk right into it and they effect change. So it could be Joy when she sees a police officer beating a hawker and speaking up against it. In that moment, she's my hero.
I did that actually.
Yeah, she did that.
You did.
I
She
always
did
do.
that.
Power to you.
I always feel this thing.
Imagine on
And
our
it's
Nyanyasa and they're just
happened-
trying to do business.
That's the thing.
so wrong.
That's the thing. And if they get into crime, well, that's also a problem. So I feel like in
And
any
he
moment,
Joy is your hero.
He threw him to
I
the
mean,
road.
in that moment,
I think you can just paint the picture. This boy,
Yeah.
he's selling chocolates.
chocolates.
Well, then some Kanjo guy comes. We are here at it's
Uhuru.
Kenyatta Avenue roundabout.
Yeah.
Sindio? So
Were you
Gloria
on
is about-
foot?
Yeah,
Yes,
we are
we're
on foot.
walking.
So Gloria is about to buy chocolates, and then this guy is running to sell. Well, some Kanjo guy just comes from nowhere. And
He was
is-
in plain clothes.
alafu
plain
akamsukuma
clothes
kwa
first
To the
barabara.
road.
Alafu
Ndo agongwe.
traffic ikafunguka.
Imagine.
So like he
He was scrambling
newest.
to
He was
get- It was
literally
so
newest
bad.
to buy a car
Yeah.
because he's selling chocolates for 5 bob. And then he snatched his entire box which has like it's sijui chocolates 50. But the entire time it was so shocking that this is how we administer justice. Whether this is wrong, that
Not
sawa
even
hafai kuwa
justice.
nauza hapa. You
But-
can just like I think there could have been better ways to handle the situation, but throwing someone to a road, so if he would have died, he died because of 50 pieces of chocolate.
Imagine.
50 like what?
And Joy really called that guy to task. She was like, really? Are
Alafu
you
what did he do?
serious?
Did
He didn't do anything, but
He
he
just
returned
said,
the
Sema
box.
mama, watch her.
He just returned the box and he was
alirudisha
like,
chocolate.
anachorea hiyo story like,
But alikuwa so
niendeni.
proud of his actions. He seemed like, hey.
These people, they thrive on violence. They really just get off of it.
And I think that's something else we should unpack maybe in our subsequent episodes.
Yeah.
Where we live in a very, very violent nation.
And we normalize it from the time, from our homes to boarding schools to school, just regular schools. Mbona unachapa watoto? Anyway, that's a whole other story.
Joy,
It's a
your
whole other
heroes.
story. My heroes are people who are brave enough to imagine a different world and to actually put all their efforts to try and see it happen. So I have several I can point to because I love philosophy so much. I love it because we used to, like the world used to give power to these thinkers because thinking is actually a lot of work. You need to think and to put it into perspective and to see several ways on how whatever your philosophies, ideologies would work, and just try to offer humanity like a cheat sheet for how to live life and to ensure that it actually comes out well. So I have several heroes. I love Nietzsche. I have aspects of Ayn Rand that I subscribe to very religiously. I love several Pan-Africanists who had the dream of uniting Africa. I think if we could have just tried to see through what Akina Nkrumah had, maybe we would have been in a better situation than we are at now. Yep. So I love ideologists and ideologists who are driven by change for better. Yeah, that is what inspires me most.
Thank you for telling me your heroes.
You're welcome, Angela.
Thanks so
And thank
much
you for having me.
Thank you for coming. It's been nice talking to you. I mean, you're always so profound and so actively engaged, and
Damn,
it's
sis.
inspiring.
And I think it's also inspiring to just see a movement of young people wanting to drive change. And it's important for us to also shape these narratives and ensure that we channel them towards action.
Yeah.
So again, that's the point of this podcast. That's the point of this platform. We hope and we believe that at the very end of this, we will have carved a path that leads us towards a better Kenya, towards a better society that we all hope to even just taste a bit of. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for listening to us for this entire time. Make sure you share,
subscribe,
just share widely.
Yes,
everyone
to
needs to get this information.
and
click the
stay
bell.
tuned. My people, and stay tuned to the subsequent episodes. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.